Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing Snake vs Chess, where the snake grows in length after each capture, and white wins by trapping and capturing black's king. My goal is to win one game against Martin. Let's get started with game number one. Alright, game number one, as you can see I do have the snake on the board. Now the snake itself cannot be captured, so my snake will always be completely safe. However, it is pretty balanced because my king is very exposed and it's not hard for Martin to launch an attack against this exposed king. I'm going to start by just moving my snake towards the center of the board. I do think I'm highly incentivized to capture as many pieces as quickly as possible, because if I can get this snake to a length of say 5 or 6, it shouldn't be that hard, especially since my snake can't be captured, to trap the king and then eventually capture it. So I'm walking straight down the middle of the board, and as you can see after that capture, we are now at a length of 3. Let's just keep walking straight down to the edge of the board. Snake to d8 does trap the king, and with that we do defeat Martin with the snake. Now I'm going to increase the strength of the bot just a little bit, so we'll be playing against Spartan for the second game. Alright, game number 2, we are now paired against Spartan, which retains all of the usual aspects of Martin. He never falls for mate in 1, he always sees mate in 1 when it's coming, but he's going to play with a little bit more foresight and maybe take advantage of the fact that my king is actually weak before I just march down and capture his king. So I will start with the same strategy. My strategy basically doesn't change whatsoever. I do need to increase the length of my snake and dive in for the enemy king. So let's go up to d4, take on d5, queen shuffles over, and I'm charging straight ahead. There is a little bit of a counterattack going on, and the problem is, since my snake isn't all that long, it's not like the tail can wrap around and defend my king. So my king is fully exposed, and it probably won't be that hard for Spartan in this case to checkmate me, but I'm too far gone to step back now. So let's go down to d7. We are threatening snake to d8, which would trap the king, and then the next turn, of course, would be a capture, but we're immediately put in check, which I suspected after queen to c8 was probably the idea, to develop the queen and harass my king. Let's go up to d2. We are checked again. I'm kind of hoping that if I can just waste a couple of turns, maybe the checks will stop, but no, I've now been cross-checked such that my only move is backwards. So king back to c1, check. Is this going to be forced mate? That is in fact checkmate. Wow, Spartan destroyed me. So I do have to find a better strategy than just launching the snake down the middle of the board, but I'm not exactly sure what that would be. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2 against Spartan. I do still think my first move should be exactly the same. We'll move down the center of the board. Just this time, maybe I should come and attack these closer pieces. That way my snake can be relatively close to my king, even as he's getting checked, right? There we go. We get the bishop retreating, which I think is a good sign. Let's advance my snake yet again. And of course, the snake is incapable basically of being captured. So I can just continue to advance and I should be fine. I really don't love how far up my king has to go, but my king basically has to follow the snake around. The knight goes back. Now we have a snake of length 3, and this is a much more optimistic sort of position, I think. Because we have a snake of length 3, the king is nice and close to the head of the snake, so he's unlikely to get harassed at least too much, I think. Now the question is, where's my next capture? Should I do like a little maneuver where I just keep the snake hovering around? Should I charge into the position but risk the king getting exposed? I'm not really sure, right? If I advance the snake too much and such that, I don't know, at some point f5 becomes the tail, because this square will become this square, and then f5 will become g5, the bishop would have scope down to h3, and there are actually mate in 1 sort of ideas there, but I don't think I have a choice but to march the king, or rather the snake down. Okay, if I advance, knight to f6 is check and the king is trapped, but it's not mate because my snake would just capture. So other than knight to f6, are there any other checks? I don't think there are. I think king to h5 is actually totally safe. The king shuffles over. Now if I move down to g7, knight f6 is an actual threat. So I think I'm going to move with the snake itself. Ooh, wait a second. If I move the snake itself over to f6, this square would disappear, which means queen to g4 would just be checkmate. Oh, am I forced mated? Oh, I'm zugzwanged. Wow, Spartan is a lot smarter than I thought. Whoops. Okay, because the queen traps the king and the knight, well, rather the knight slash the bishop and the queen working all together trap the king. So my king has no legal moves. So I have to move the snake, But wherever I move the snake, I can't defend g4. And g4 needs to be defended because this tail will move from f5 to g5, unleashing the bishop and the queen, right? So queen to g4 is just mate. Is that it? Did I just get zugzwanged by Spartan? That's kind of crazy. Okay, shoot. Snake shuffles over and I do instantly get checkmated. All right, let's try that one more time against Spartan. All right, Spartan, I'm not playing around this time. Let's go. Advance the snake, but also advance the king. We get a different opening this time. I'm gonna keep my king nice and protected by my snake. You can check me back and forth. I don't care. We can have a draw. Okay, maybe I do care. Is this just gonna be a draw? Okay, let's go king to f1 instead, because I really don't want this to end in a draw. That'd be kind of dumb. King back to f1? You've got to actually be kidding me. There's no way this... Hello? Okay, we'll advance the king instead, and finally Spartan shuffles his king over. Okay, advance the snake again. I advance ferociously into the position. I do not care. I am not intimidated by you whatsoever. What I might do is actually leave this pawn, though. I might leave this pawn alone with the idea that I want the snake to capture it and increase in length, not the king to capture it and just eliminate it from the board altogether. I also think as long as I stay on dark squares, I'm much better off. Oh, I was going to say because the bishop would be able to develop, but obviously that's only been the case in the last 2 games. In this case, the dark squared bishop is the one that has scope. All right, we advance the snake. The queen shuffles over. I don't think that creates any new threats for check. Let's go over to f5 and target this pawn. Queen gives check. I'll advance the king. Oh, I get checkmated immediately. Oh my goodness, I'm getting thrashed by Spartan. Wow, okay, maybe there's just no chance I win this, because anytime the snake gets a little bit too far into the position, the queen corrals the king from behind, and then all of the other pieces do the heavy lifting to deliver the checkmate. And it seems, broadly speaking, I have no way of stopping that. Okay, let's try this one last time, but this time I'm gonna start off with a snake of length 4. Okay, we now have a snake of length 4. Is this much longer than it needed to be? Could I have done 3 first? Yes, probably, but I wanted to actually win a game. So let's try using a snake of length 4 to defeat Spartan. I feel much better about this now. This does also introduce the possibility of getting my king trapped by my own snake. So I have to be super aware of that. But so far, I'm taking on d5. I have a snake of length 5. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm gonna wrap the snake back around though, right? That way the king has places to escape to. Queen comes down. Let's come and attack these pieces that are attacking me. And I also sort of create this structure such that the king can sort of maneuver around it and maybe escape any incoming attacks. I get checked, but I can slide back to f1. I thought we were going to get queen to c2, king to f1. There's no way I used my snake against myself just now. We get this sort of crisscross applesauce checkmate, which obviously I have no escape from because it's checkmate. All right, let's try that again. Holy cow. All right, snake of length 4, activate, go. Attack Martin. He's being evil and not nice to me. Take all of his pieces. Yes, snake down to d7. We do get put in check. I wonder if Spartan knows that snake to d8 is forced mate. Is it going to move one of these pawns and run away with the king, or is it just going to keep attacking me with checks? I, for one, am going to make it impossible for him to check me again. If I put my king on a dark square, meaning the light squared bishop can't attack me, and on a square orthogonal to the knight, which means the knight would have to move at least 3 times, or rather twice, to put my king in check, then I should be totally safe. So king to d2. Ah, okay. And it does move the pawn up to e5, so that if I play snake to d8, king to e7, snake to e8, king to e6, the king comes running out like a chicken with its head cut off, but ultimately it probably would escape. However, if I play snake to e7, it pushes the king into the back rank. So now I attack the king, and by the time, I thought it was honestly going to create an escape square, by the time it notices that it's trapped, I can take the king and win the game. With that, we do finally defeat Spartan with snake versus chess. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below if there are any other variations of this that I should try, and I'll see you guys in the next one.